Wolf Like Me is a 6-episode series streaming on Peacock and Australia's Stan. It's a rom-dram supernatural com written, directed, and produced by Abe Forsyth, starring Josh Gad and Isla Fisher as Mary and Gary. We're here to talk about Season 1. It's January 18th. Welcome to today's episode. Let's not dance around. When did you figure out the big twist, and what was your reaction?
It was a couple minutes before the second episode ended. That's when it's completely obvious what it is, because
So 60 minutes into the show.
Right, because I was trying to figure out why this show was called Wolf Like Me. I was like, oh, well, the two main characters, Gary and Mary, they're sort of like lone wolf characters. Maybe that's where the connection is coming in, and it's all about their interaction or whatever. But no, it's because Mary, by the end of the second episode, is a literal wolf. Like, we see that she's like throwing live chickens into a separate room.
Does she refer to herself as a werewolf throughout the series?
No, in fact, I don't think they say the word werewolf.
Is it like Walking Dead and zombies?
Yeah, they just say wolf. Like, that's it. They never say werewolf.
And they're both widowers. Gary has lost his wife. Right. Was it to his disease or what?
Yeah, it was, I think, to cancer. But
okay, and then he has a daughter, so he's got a single dad
Emma.
life.
And Emma suffers from panic attacks. That plays in the first episode, sixth episode. And then we also have Mary. She lost her husband. We don't know how until like the third episode comes into play. Well, after the revelation that she's a werewolf, it turns out that she ate him.
Like, literally. In just a fit of rage, or?
Well, when she's a wolf, she can't control it. Or so we think. She can't control it.
Did the husband know at the time that she was a wolf
as
well?
No, they were in, I think, Paris or some other place on vacation, and she said she got bit by what she thought was a dog, but like throughout the day, she ended up feeling worse and worse and worse until she turns into a werewolf.
Okay, and then she kills her husband that night, the first day that she becomes a werewolf. Yeah. So she didn't know. Yeah. And then from then on out, she's been on the run for the murder of her husband, or what?
Well, since it's only like one night of the month that there's a full moon.
Or is there just no evidence of her husband left?
Well, she went to the cops the next day and she was like, I don't know where my husband is, but because blood was all over her and it was her husband's blood, they were like, oh, he must have been mauled by like an animal and you must just be in shock that you don't remember it or something like that.
So they don't accuse her of murder?
No. Which you would think that they would, but no. In the end, she ends up just, like, living her life, and whenever there's a full moon, she, like, freaks out and runs to her home and bolts the door for the full night.
You'd think that she'd map it out, like, she would know beforehand.
Well, there are certain things that happen.
She just wouldn't go out on that day.
Well, there are certain... Well, I mean, like, she doesn't want to be a shut-in, but, like, she
it's one day.
She usually does map it out, but, for example, on the first episode, she ends up going on a date with Gary, because after they, like, meet in a car crash or whatever, she goes to Gary's house to just kind of, like, talk it over and get to know him a little more.
It looked like a bad car crash based on the trailer.
It looked like an action scene almost, because the car's flipping over and it ends up being that everyone involved is completely fine. Like Emma, she's suffering a panic attack after the car crash.
And so is Mary trying to get out of it by dating Gary?
No. She like genuinely felt bad about it, and she also gives Emma a book that like she read when she was Emma's age.
So she's not an evil werewolf.
No, not at all.
Right.
But when she's a wolf, she can't control it.
Do you see her in her werewolf form by the end of the show?
At the very last episode, that's when they reveal what she looks like.
And in comparison to other werewolves that you've seen, and say like,
she looked like a just plain out wolf. It wasn't like that one.
Did you see the transformation happen though?
No, you didn't.
Oh, okay. Compared to like Prisoner of Azkaban though?
Oh no, nothing like that. She looked like just a normal wolf. Where it's like
CGI wolf or a real wolf?
It looked like a real wolf.
Okay,
like a dog. Like it's not one of those things where the werewolf is able to stand up and like break people's necks. No, it's just like she acts like a normal wolf.
What other werewolves have you seen in like media?
The first one that comes to mind is Michael Jackson's Thriller.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then there's also, of course, there's the Twilight franchise, which I never saw, like, any movie of.
Twilight, Supernatural.
Teen Wolf.
Ginger Snaps. Which Teen Wolf? The movie or the TV show?
I was thinking of the TV show.
Okay, there's also the Michael J. Fox movies. And then Into the Shadows.
Oh, yeah, the movie, right? Like, at the very end?
No, also the TV show. They face off the werewolves a few times.
Yeah, well, I think the movie one was... that's the one I remember, yeah.
I don't even think they turn in the movie one, do they?
Yeah, at the very end, I think there's like a fight between the vampires and the werewolves.
Okay, which out of all those werewolves would be the worst to face off of in like real life?
Well, again, I haven't seen anything like Teen Wolf, but I'd say I wouldn't want to face any werewolf. You know what? The Thriller one scared me so much as a kid, like when Michael Jackson ended up like tearing off his skin. Probably just that one. Dude,
I would just walk down the street away from the dancing people. I don't think that would be the most threatening out of all of them.
Well, no, that because he turns into a zombie later on in that music video, but they're watching a movie about him being a werewolf at the very beginning. So it's not like you just run away. It's like he would just catch you.
I never watched that music video too much. Like
But speaking of which, okay, so I want to talk about the final episode of this really quick. They ditched the comedic premise entirely in the last episode.
It stops being a com?
Completely. Like, I mean, throughout the 5 episodes...
Just a rom-drom supernatural?
Well, no, like, I mean, not really rom.
So they get rid of the rom as well.
It's,
so it's
just a
dramatic
drama,
supernatural show.
Dramatic horror supernatural episode. Because the first 5 episodes, they're funny and there's, like, more drama that gets added on increasingly every episode. But the 6th episode...
What sort of drama, though? When does Josh Gad realize? When does
It's
Gary
the very end of the 2nd episode.
So he realizes the same time you do.
Right, because...
And he's okay with it.
He doesn't try to turn her in. No, in the 3rd episode, he is not okay with it. He's, like, holding up a knife to her because like, she, like, comes out of the cage and she's, like, naked and he's like, I need to get out of here. But, like, the place is completely locked down. He's not okay with it for a good, like, I'd say 4 episodes before at the end of the
Does Emma find out by the end?
At the very, very end, yeah.
And what was her reaction?
Actually, we don't really hear her speak afterwards. That's the thing about the 6th episode, is that, like, when the 5th episode ends, Gary, Emma, and Mary, they go camping. And then the next morning, Gary tries the car, but I think he, like, either left the lights on or something because the battery is completely dead.
So they've completely forgiven her, or Gary has.
Yeah, by the end of the series.
And he's like, I'm going to take you camping somewhere where there are no locks.
Not only that, she's pregnant. Like, in the 5th episode, that's...
So, how much time has gone by?
A couple months at this point. Like, They reconcile at the very end of the 4th episode, and then they, like, start a relationship. And Emma, that's the main thing. Emma really, really likes Mary, like, whenever she's around. So, like, she's a lot happier, we see, during the episodes. Anyways, they try to get back home, but the car is completely dead.
Battery.
Yeah, and there's going to be a full moon that night.
Of course.
So at this point, Mary is freaking out, and Gary decides to go up to the top of a mountain and give a call to like AAA, or I think they say the RAA or whatever.
Yeah, it's Australia, remember?
Yeah, and it ends up being that. They say that they're going to come at 3 or 4, but literally the next scene is the fact that it's like 5 o'clock at night, and at that point...
You said the comedy was gone, though. That seems like a joke, based on all workers never showing up on time.
There's one little line that Gary gives, like after something horrific happens, that's the only form of comedy that there is in this whole entire finale.
What's the horrific thing that happens?
Well,
does Mary eat some campers?
Mary she just runs away. Yeah. And at this point, Emma doesn't know that Mary is still a wolf. They decide to keep that from her because they already dropped a bombshell to Emma that she's pregnant.
You said she looks like a wolf. Is she, like, stronger than a wolf? Or is it like a big wolf?
I mean...
Is it like the gray wolf?
It just seemed normal size.
So why not just try to, like, tie her up with some rope?
Because that won't work. And again, Emma doesn't know that Mary is a wolf. Why wouldn't that work?
Like, a wolf is strong, but I don't think it can get out of, like, a rope binding.
Well, I mean, as the sun is setting down, she just takes off. And then Gary is like, okay, we're just going to have to stay in the car. And
how often does she run in the series?
It's only whenever there's going to be a full moon. It's not like she just randomly takes off at all.
In the trailer, she runs, like, 3 times.
Well, yeah. It's like in the first episode and the 2nd episode, we see it the most. And then this episode, I think it was even a callback to the earlier episodes, she just takes off because she doesn't want to hurt the family.
So what's the horrific thing that happens?
Well, 2 people end up showing up out of nowhere.
Campers.
Yeah, at the middle of the night. I'm not sure if they're campers. They were strange. They like try to get into the car that Josh Gad is in, and they see Emma.
Hunters.
They're not werewolf. No.
Robbers.
They are robbers, but we're not sure what they're trying to do. Like at first, it seems like they're going to help maybe jumpstart the car, but no, these 2 people then like the doors are locked and they're trying to get into Josh Gad's car as Emma and him are in it, and he's like, "Look, you guys have to get out of here. You guys are about to die." And they're like, "Oh no, like we're not gonna fall for that or whatever." And then it ends up being that like no,
they deserve to die at least.
I mean, yeah, but Josh Gad wasn't trying to get them.
Did you just see the blood splatter on the window? Or
well,
something like
you see a body like suddenly try try to like get into the car, and then you see blood across the windows. And I didn't understand, there were two of them. One of them is being attacked really horrifically. He's like, help me, as the wolf is hurting him. I didn't understand why the other guy didn't get in the car right away and just drive off. Instead, he's like, he like is trying to call out the other guy's name, and then that's when we see the wolf.
Okay, so what's the cliffhanger here?
There's not really a cliffhanger because the two people end up dying, and they use their
So this is like a limited series that could be done now.
Well, yeah, but I would want to see a second season.
What would you want to see in the second season? Them trying to find a cure? Them just trying to live their lives with the fact that she's a werewolf?
There's still the question about the fact that she's pregnant, that Mary's pregnant.
Oh, so what's going to come out?
Yeah, because that's a question that is given in the 5th episode. She's like, if I'm pregnant and there's a small wolf that like comes out of me, I might end up like eating it if there's a full moon that night or whatever. Like, and Josh Gad is like, well, like that's just something we have to kind of deal with. But no, she's freaking out about it. But yeah, no, and so Emma now knows that she's a wolf, like everyone knows, and they just end up driving back.
Do you ship them as a couple? Are they a good couple?
Yeah, in fact, I think that the best thing about the show is just Josh Gad and Isla Fisher.
Their performance?
Their chemistry and their performance, and just the characters in general, like, you actually care about them. It's not just like, oh, okay, he's a good guy because he has a daughter or whatever. It's like, no, like, the reason you watch it is because their chemistry and the way that they act is, like, really good.
Mm-hmm. And are you buying the whole Josh Gad at 40 years old now transitioning from immature adult comedies into, like, more of the dad role?
It was strange. I was trying to think about him in anything else but a comedy, because he feels like an actor that mostly does comedy but maybe sometimes goes into drama, but I couldn't think about any other thing that he's been in that's like been dramatic at all.
I don't think there has been very much, but
well, yeah.
He does feel like he's doing the Jack Black route, where it's like he just does the ridiculous stupid characters for so long, and then suddenly he becomes like the sort of father figure.
Right, like you don't see in this show, the way that he acts, you don't see the same character that you do in like something like Avenue 5, or I'm sure the way he acts in Pixels, or what was that one, like Animal House, about the White House that came out a couple years
Book of
ago?
Mormon, 1600 Penn Street. Like, or he's done a lot of stupid comedies.
Right, so like now I actually really like seeing him in like a dramatic role.
And Isla Fisher, they actually both did an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm within the last 2 years.
Were they both in it?
Yeah, for one episode, not in the same episode.
Oh, okay.
But like, yeah, it was just funny.
Yeah. In fact, that was the last thing I'd seen him in, and so when I first saw him in this, I was like, because you're not sure if it's going to be a complete comedy, but when I saw the first scene of like the person breaking up with him, and she causes a real scene about it, I was like, oh, is this just going to be like kind of the same character that he plays in that? But no, like he actually did really give a good performance.
So you like the twist? You like the whole point of the series?
Yeah,
you think the supernatural aspect added to it?
Well, here's the thing about every single episode, it's different in the sense where it's like most shows, when it's like the basis of the show, they'll give away what it's about in the first episode. But no, this actually
sometimes in the teaser trailer.
I really enjoyed seeing like them like on the date and the build up about it. In fact, the first episode was one of my favorite things. I have a list of what order they're in. But if there's maybe even one con about the show, it's almost the fact that it's like, although I think the show's very good, it maybe doesn't reach the heights of the first episode really throughout the whole entire series.
So the first episode is always the best.
The first episode is the best, but also it's not even when like the actual plot kicks in. So I was.
How would you rate them in order of like best to worst? Those episodes and the 6 of them.
I'll say that because the finale was just complete horror, I actually have the finale a little bit above the first episode, which I know goes against what I was just kind of saying. Then the first episode, and then
but they're both worthy of a watch.
Yeah. I think that you should definitely watch the series.
So it's the middle part that lulls, or
what? I then have the second episode because of the twist. Because I was like, what?
Okay.
Like what?
Oh, can I explain how I found out the twist?
Because
I was doing the research for this, and my revelation came differently. I watched the trailer. There were a few hints in there that something strange was going on. Then I started reading just the IMDb user reviews, just the headlines, because I could tell there was a big twist. Everybody was talking about there being a big twist and how you should just watch the show, which I was like, okay, well, I wonder how far I'm going to get before I realize what it is.
Right.
Then someone compared it to Santa Clarita Diet, and I was like, well, that seems very different than what I just watched on that trailer. Why would they be saying that? And then it was when someone called the Moon Cross Lovers that it kicked in, and I was like, oh, she's a werewolf. So that's what.
So you didn't actually like see the scene or anything. You just read about it.
Well, I read that thing, and then it took me those 3 things together, because Santa Clarita Diet is about those two, that couple in the suburbs, Timothy Oliphant and Drew Barrymore trying to cover up the fact that she's turning into a zombie, and then also the ending of the trailer has there being scratches on sort of where she's locking herself into, and so I was like, okay, well, all of that put together plus the moon cross makes it pretty obvious that that's what's going on. My question is Emma ever going to turn into a, like, was that ever a fear of Josh Gad's, was that she would accidentally get scratched or something?
That she would get scratched? I mean, the only chance that would be is like Mary is maybe a wolf and then bites her in that formation, but except for the 6th episode, she's always just placing herself in the locked room. So I mean, I can't really imagine that ever happening. The bigger question is just, is the baby that they have going to have the same genetic material?
It's all about the baby.
Right, at this point. I mean, that's the only question that's really left. And then to finish off my list, episodes 3 and 4, yeah, I feel like they can kind of be interchanged. I think episode 4 is maybe above episode 3 just because of like a argument scene that I thought was well done in the beginning scene of episode 4. One theme, or I don't know if you can say...
Wait, can you just give the episodes in order real quick?
Yeah, it's 6, 1, 2, like 3 and 4 are on the same level, and then 5.
Okay, so 5 being the worst.
Yeah.
All right, now say your point.
But one theme is that they're always running into each other, literally and
like me
figuratively. Well, yeah, because in the first episode, Mary crashes in, and that's when they get their first interaction, and then Mary later on goes to give Emma the book, and Josh Gad and her get to talking. And then the second episode, when Josh Gad is on a random date, that was a funny scene, but when he's on a random date, she literally runs into him with a hot cup of coffee, not realizing, like, it was just...
At what point are they designated just a couple? So it's not strange that
episode
they're running
4.
into each other.
Episode 4. But at the end of episode 3, even like when Josh Gad figures out and he's trying his hardest to get Emma and Mary to like not talk to each other, Mary is even like packing up her stuff and leaving because she's not sure if Josh Gad is going to say anything to anybody about it. He ends up like she ends up, I guess, rear-ending him at the very end of the episode, and so it's like, again? Again. Jeez. And that's where the funny part in episode 4.
She's just a bad driver.
Well, at the very beginning, he's like, oh God, like I can't speak to her again, and Emma's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you about to do? So he puts the car in drive, but he's still like, he was just parked, so he like drives straight into an Italian restaurant, like, and people are diving out of the way. Is this like a joke
because they're driving on a different side of the road because they're in Australia, right?
I mean, I didn't think about it that way, but it's like, it's
and
just
that they're American.
It's just the fact that it's like complete coincidence after coincidence, like to the point where it's just insane.
If it was to remind you of any other shows, what would they be? Because to me, just based off what I was reading, it reminds me of any sort of Rose MacGyver show where you got ghosts or iZombie, like the things where it's...
I can't think of any right now, but yeah, like the weird kind of like monster centric comedic show. Is
the humor at all like No Activity? Because that's also a Stan original.
No Activity. It's more like just a ton of funny conversations that take place here and then. As the show progresses in this, it gets more dramatic.
So what's your overall rating then?
I'd say for the full show, probably an 8.
Oh, cool. 8. So 8 out of 10.
I really enjoyed it, and I do think that people should check it out.
And you'd watch next season.
Yeah.
It has a 7.4 on IMDb, which isn't bad. The overall impression is that it's a good genre blend. And the major criticisms is this, like, it takes place in Australia, but Fisher uses an American accent.
Yeah.
And she is Australian, so it's kind of weird. And people were talking about that. And also people really didn't like that. It's supposed to take place in Adelaide, but very evidently was filmed in New South Wales. So they could recognize, like, the landmarks and such.
Yeah, one thing that Mary does in the show is she talks about, like, whenever she's having a problem, she, like, speaks out loud, like she's writing a letter, and like she always says "Dear Adelaide," and then she also provides the answer and like speaking as Adelaide, and it's like
narrates?
"Dear Mary." Yeah, there's narration in the show for like a couple scenes, but yeah, so that's how I knew it takes place in Adelaide.
Overall, was it unexpected or predictable?
It was not predictable.
Not predictable. It subverted your expectations.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed it. I think if you like the first episode, you should definitely check out the rest of the series, but also just check out the series anyways, because I think it's good. Okay,
so we've mentioned Josh Gad enough. I do have a game for Isla Fisher. We have 4 different things here, one of which is a lie, and you have to tell
there's 3 truths.
3 truths and a lie.
Okay,
ready?
Yeah.
So Isla Fisher needed a running coach for this role, or Isla Fisher played Shaggy's girlfriend in the 2002 Scooby-Doo movie, or Lady Gaga once confused Amy Adams with Isla Fisher, or Isla Fisher with Amy Adams, or Isla Fisher had to turn down a Marvel project to be in this.
A Marvel project.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go because it sounds almost like a lie. Also, there's very little context to that one. That Lady Gaga confused Isla Fisher as Amy Adams.
No, she went up to Isla Fisher and started complimenting her on her role in American Hustle.
Well, that's semi-recent then, right?
Yeah, and Amy Adams and Isla Fisher have always been confused, kind of like Anna Kendrick and Kate Mara. I wonder which one
Yeah, 'cause
gets
they look
confused
similar.
more between those two. The one that's fake is the Marvel Project. I just thought that maybe you would think that it was like a TV show or something, so you'd believe that.
Well, I was.
But she played the girlfriend, Shaggy's girlfriend in Scooby Doo. Like, I didn't even recognize her until I pulled up that picture, and I was like,
I mean,
oh my God,
I don't
that's
remember
her.
the Scooby Doo movie that well.
That was like her first big role.
Because she was in. Wait, was she?
And she actually did get a running coach for this show because she runs so poorly.
Well, I don't.
And she's 45 years old.
But
So
how?
it's like,
But like, what does even a running coach do? I feel like
she just ran very awkwardly, and they needed to film her running, so they had a running coach come in there and kind of like reformat her style, I guess. But it does seem like one of those, like you hire a physical trainer to get bulked up or something like Batman. You get the free like physical training to that.
See, I thought that one might be a lie because you were just talking about how much she runs in the teaser trailer. I was like, oh, that might just be like a joke that you're making. But yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then was there a character named Jaden?
There's this other family in the show, and I think Jaden might have been the husband for it.
Okay. Well, whoever Jaden is, he was played by Nash Egerton, who you should remember because that's not only Joel Egerton's brother, but also the stuntman who directed every single episode of Mr. In Between. So we talked about him a lot from the Mr. In Between
I mean,
show.
I get that.
And he just has, like, I guess he's also an actor, but he played a role in this.
Yeah, because I was going to say,
one episode.
I understand that they're Australian, but like...
It was just weird to see his name associated with this show as well.
Right, why he was in it.
Because I was like, oh yeah, I remember doing the research on this guy beforehand. But the last bit of research I have is on Abe Forsyth, who I said wrote, directed, and executively produced this series. He's already working on a second series for this, so it may get picked up again.
But it hasn't been greenlit yet.
No, but he's already like writing it out, you know.
Okay.
And he worked with Gad already in the 2019 rom-dram zombie-com Little Monsters. So that's how they knew each other. And then that's where he's like, I think Gad could play a more serious role, and I kind of want to see him do that. So then he gave the script to Gad, and then Gad was like, I don't want to do it because I have to leave my kids for a long time. And then he ended up really liking the script, so he went down there. And apparently him and Amy Adams get along really well. So that's how the show
was nice. It was nice finally seeing Josh Gad and not have him like screaming to like try and get a laugh out of people.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
So you think he should play more roles like this?
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to it. Before we end the podcast, I do have some observations about the show. One, it's entirely reliant upon cringe humor.
What type of cringe humor?
Well, like, for example, in the second episode, Josh Gad is on a date with someone who he met on Bumble, but the person doesn't really know English that well.
So he's doing online dating.
Yeah. And when he's on the date, like, he's teaching her, like, English words because she's just trying to practice her English. And then he's like, and we are on a date. And then she doesn't want to say it because she knows what that means, but she's, like, doesn't want to be on a date with Josh Gad.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But she agreed. I don't understand.
But she was more just agreeing because she wanted to learn English.
So like a tutoring thing.
Yeah.
Weird.
And also, yeah, as the episodes progress, the humor is more laced with the drama. Like they become more 2 and 2 as the
Are there a lot of werewolf puns?
No, thankfully. I'm not sure if I'd like the show as much.
No doggy humor?
No, and also, like, I guess this is for people that don't really know the twist, but at least when I was watching it, Mary completely, like, for the first 2 episodes, she just continually runs away, like, all the time, in, like, every situation, whenever she's meeting with Josh Gad. Like, the time when she comes to give the book to Emma, they end up having tea, and then she runs away, and then, like, she runs away later on, and, like, in
Everyone's
the second
expressed
episode.
the best way to see the show is to not know a thing about it before you jump into it.
Yeah, I mean, it makes more sense once the twist is revealed, but it was just.
Do you think it'd be better as a movie though? Because it is the same length as like a really long movie.
It's the same length, but I'm not sure if it would work as well because the episodes.
The time length that
it is more episodic in the sense where it's like they have to do one thing every single episode rather than just like, oh, this is cool. Continual.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next episode. Hope you enjoyed this one. Bye.
Bye.